Welcome, one and all, WTF. Welcome to Funkatopia. I hope y'all are doing fantastically well. I'm your host, Mr. Christopher. This is my co-host, Jeff Page. You are muted. You're muted.
Of course I am. This is the perfect way to start muted.
Oh, my God.
There we go. I got it out.
All right, so look. You guys who are actually tuning in for the pre-show are going to get an extra bonus right now. You're going to get an extra bonus right out the gate because Jerome has some other scheduling stuff that we're going through right now. And so he's only going to be able to stay with us for about 20 minutes after we start the 8 o'clock hour. So we're just going to go ahead and just get right into it and bring the man himself right into the fray. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please give a warm welcome to Mr. Jerome Benton?
Wait, I got that for you. I got that.
That was a white girl. How you doing, Chris?
Man, doing good. It's good seeing you, brother.
Mr. Page, how you doing, dude?
Doing awesome. Glad you're here, man. Glad you're here.
Me too. Above ground.
Yeah, right? That's always a good thing. Yeah, because here's the thing. Even though the show doesn't start technically until 8 p.m., we normally come in at 7:45, say hello to everybody and everything. But again, because of our time restrictions, I just wanted to go ahead and bring you in. And if you guys tuned in early, bless you.
We appreciate you.
We already got love coming in, so that's all good. Dan Gilliam says, "Where's Jamie Starr?" Well,
in his skin.
In his skin. That's right.
Smart ass.
Oh my God. So, man, let me tell you, I'm going to go ahead and just break into a random question because obviously we're about to celebrate the 40th anniversary of Purple Rain here. And, you see how the estate is happening the way that it's happening. And that's the actual, oh, nice. There you go. Oh my gosh. Look at that. Look at that. That's purty. It sure is purty.
I think I'm going to need a drink.
Yeah, it's but I'm just kind of curious. Wait, hold on a second. I think I got one for you.
Yeah.
There you go.
Dirty dog.
Got one for you.
That's good.
So we got the 40th anniversary of Purple Rain that's coming up here, and tonight we have a bunch of special guests that are going to be joining us. I'm so excited. Obviously we welcome Jerome Benton, but also going to be joining us is going to be Craig Rice is going to be joining us. Gilbert, yes, absolutely. Gilbert Davison is going to be joining us. Damon, there you go. Damon Dickson is going to be joining us.
Yes.
Hucky Austin's going to be joining us. Yeah. We're obviously going to be sharing stories about Mr. Wally. We're going to be sharing stories about Big Daddy Wally. And then on top of that, we have a special guest that is unannounced that I have not announced, but I'll announce now. Well, we're going to be getting a little bit of a visit from Mr. Alan Leeds.
Oh, Paw.
Papa.
Get the clap.
So we got a packed house tonight. So I'm glad to have you on board. So let me get back to my question here, where I've kind of like spread away from that now. 40th anniversary of Purple Rain. You were so iconic in this film, but I have to ask, was there anything that you had expectation wise when they were releasing Purple Rain that you thought, man, I wish they would include this, or I wish they would include that? Like a lot of people were saying, oh, was there bloopers that could have been included on the DVD? What would you have liked to have seen besides what's already there?
Well, being part of Purple Rain was something new to me. I didn't know what the format was. I didn't know what the procedure of doing movies was. The biggest thing that we did that had a ideology of filming was music videos, but all that stuff was rehearsed and in place. Prince and Albert they set up a cool scenario for us to be in it. You know, it was really natural for me and Morris to work it out. You know, we had an acting coach on there. You know, Craig Rice was one of them, and Dawn Renee, and they helped us hone into to our lines. A lot of the character building came from us as individuals and our antics and our natural connection with each other. So no, there was nothing that I know I could look back and say, maybe they should have did this and maybe they should have did that. Because here 40 years later, it looks like everything was in place.
Right.
Right. And that was really what was even more surprising about that. I mean, with the exception of just only like a couple of actors in the film, everybody was pretty much new to the film industry. I mean, that was like the first movie that any of you, all the star characters had never done a movie before.
No,
And so-
Apollonia was the season. She was the seasoned one. And she was great. And you know, she came on the set and we're like, damn, she remembered all them lines. Damn. And she hit it, and she was beautiful doing it.
Man, it's just so incredible to me to think, because the way that the emotions were kind of displayed, I mean, everybody was, I mean, you guys were fantastic actors I mean, I see movies now with seasoned actors, as you've put it, that are horrible, that didn't even hold a candle to what you guys were doing as far as the emotion. I mean, Prince was killing it, Morris was killing it, you were killing it. It's just so unbelievable to me that the end result of, I mean, because looking, I'm not even talking about hindsight, but looking at foresight, go, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to create a movie, and it's going to be a music movie. Who's going to be the actor in it? Nobody.
But thank God for those other movies that are horrible, because it makes us look good as well. Thank God for the streaming world.
You can get all the crap.
It's just,
You know, so I guess one of the things is everything about your character is it's you guys. It's not we're going in and we're acting and we're becoming something. It felt like, and everyone could breathe like, this is what they're really like. This has got to be the real them, with of course a little bit, of course, for storyline, but for the most part, you just brought yourselves out, and we can see that just you being here and how you are. You know what I mean?
Well, it's not just us. It's a proponent of who we are,
Right.
and we can turn it on and off when we need to use it. Our creativity, myself and Morris, you know, when we're together, it's you can't touch it. You cannot touch it. And Prince honed in on it. Prince recognized it.
yeah, you guys had a repertoire for sure.
He gave us an opportunity, and guess what? We took it.
And you killed it. Killed it.
Thank you.
Really did.
I mean, how long did it take to get through the what's the password skit? Was that pretty much just like a snap thing? Was it like,
I believe it was 2 takes. 2 takes. And I don't know what the element of the editing was, but it was 2 takes. We rehearsed it, like I said, with Craig and Dawn Renee, and they had us in there working it, and it got smoother and smoother each time. They worked on our pacing. They want us to pause. They want us to breathe. They did everything correctly. You know, after Purple Rain, I started taking acting classes with David Provo in Los Angeles, and he was in Nunzio and Godfather and all those things, and Craig and Dawn were on point and leading us into a place of understanding what we were doing and how we were doing it.
yeah, that's just, I mean, and again, it was the natural progression of it. It wasn't just the dialogue that was happening during the what's the password. It was it was just the, you know, you're polishing shoes and just kind of in the moment, you know, everything was just pitch perfect about that scene. It just really, again, the whole entire movie, and just, you know, man, I tell you,
it was fun. It was fun. It was fun. It was never work for me. It was never work for me. They say cut, then we go watch Prince do 40 takes on a scene. But that was acceptable because it was his scenario.
Well,
you got to get the right look. You got to get that.
Wait a minute, we got to see that again. What was the look? I guess.
I love you, Prince. I really do.
I'm trying to perfect it with as I'm watching it. It's just like we're working out. Oh my gosh. Why y'all beating on shit? What's that mean? That was dead. Had to give Dan a little shout out here. All right, listen, we're gonna bring in some other folks. We got some other guests sitting in the green room, and so let's see, who should we bring in next? Let's start with we'll bring in one by one. First, we'll bring in Hucky Austin in the mix.
Ungreen him. There you go.
What's up? What's up? What's up?
There he is.
What's up?
What up, Hucky?
What's up, Jerome?
How you doing?
Hucky, good, man. All the sexy people got beards, huh, Jerome?
That's
Hucky,
right.
you see that?
Yeah.
What that say?
Sexy.
What that
get
say?
Get that hat out of here, man.
No.
What's
We'll have to tell you about that. Get that hat off the screen, man.
What's the North Polars? What am I missing?
I scored 4 touchdowns on him.
Not on me.
Is this part
on Washburn?
Not on me. I went to Washburn High School. Jerome went to North. My school was a very good program for football. Jerome's school was not.
But is this where the legend of Bullet comes into play?
Oh, no. Is that Jerome?
What you know about Bullet?
I know that you are a bullet.
He was fast. Jerome was fast, man. You couldn't catch that dude.
But I could catch you.
Well, that's true. That's true.
No, you guys, but seriously, Washburn was an amazing school. They had a receiver that just caused hell. His name was Lad Mays.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't stand that light skin.
Them light skinned dudes, right, Jerome?
and they had another one, Hart.
Oh yeah, Dave Hart.
Dave Hart.
Oh,
well, that was 50 years ago, and I'm remembering them names, huh?
Don't be talking about Washburn.
Tell them, don't be talking about Washburn. That's right.
Oh, Lord Nigrin.
Millers.
All right, let's bring somebody else.
Power.
We got more guests in the green room. Let me bring in the one, the only Craig Lawrence Rice in the mix.
Craig.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Craig,
the Godfather.
I went away to school, to a private school. I got a scholarship, so I don't know anything about high school. No, I went away to a private school, so it was like I had to come back into the neighborhood like as a foreigner, It's like, so I didn't go to any city schools. High school. I wish I had them though. Tell you, it's got truth.
You guys, he's telling the truth because when I met him, he was like a foreigner.
Back and relearn the language.
Yeah, to learn the language. Well, you learn how to speak 2 languages is what you do learn how to do.
Yeah, je peux parler en français comme Spanish.
Yeah, right, exactly. So, but no, how's everybody doing? I want Hucky and Jerome to know, and I know Gilbert might come on here later, that I just left the Revolutions rehearsals and they all said to say hello and they miss you, and they all were saying, just to let them know, this Purple Rain thing's kind of all scattered all over the place. It's like,
I bet.
Yeah.
I bet it is. We'll just leave it there. I bet it is.
Yeah, I'm that's all it is what it is. That's the way I look at it right now.
This is all I say.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, here he is, Mr. Gilbert Davison's in the mix.
Hey, everybody. Hey. How's it going?
Yeah. How you doing,
now,
man?
I'm a St. Paul kid, so
Right.
I had to bring civility to all this.
Yeah, right.
North and Washburn and private school guy and all that other stuff. I was the voice of reason even back then.
Gilbert, are you going to share our college football stories with the audience tonight?
The college football?
Yeah, you remember one.
Yeah, we might have to go down that path.
Hey, Gilbert.
Yeah.
I'm gonna mess Hucky up. Gilbert went to the school that was the St. Paul North.
Oh, Gilbert, you should take a look at insult, man.
I don't know. I mean,
Domination.
I don't know. I mean, well,
Domination.
it was us in North in basketball for sure. Our football program, great athletes. We had great athletes. The program could have been better. Let's put it that way. But
Gosh.
yeah, it's a good time.
Need I say more?
Oh my gosh. All of you have, oh my gosh, hold on a second. We got
I love
somebody.
you, Hucky.
This is just we got somebody else in the mix. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for the one, the only Alan Leeds in the house.
Hey, Alan. Hey,
So-
Alan. The
Oh, man,
Reaper.
we got the
There's
band
an
back
old
together
song
now.
called this old gang of mine. And I
Yeah.
think that's what this is. The old
Yeah,
gang.
right.
We got New York that just
Fellas.
played the trump card, the ace card.
Like, who's the trump card? What you
No, I'm
say?
sorry. I meant I just like switching up. I said the ace. Never mind.
Let's leave him out of it, please.
The Reaper.
I love that.
So,
That's great.
Hey, Jeff, Mr. Christopher, thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Jerome Benton.
I mean, you guys are legendary. This is
Romeo.
a legendary roundtable right here. When's the last time you guys were even all in the same room together?
And Nice.
No. Separately, but never all of us together.
It
I
has
think
to
it
be
was at
back
the
in the 80s.
Spectrum.
The risk is sounding a little more. Were we all at the funeral, the memorial at Paisley? Jerome, were you there?
Jerome wasn't there. Jerome wasn't
No, I
there.
didn't think so. I didn't think so.
Yeah.
It might have been Nice.
Yeah.
Now, we probably had some gigs.
I didn't go to
gigs
Nice.
that-
I was running around trying to get Maserati off the ground.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe it was some gigs after after Nice.
Yeah, it had to be back in the
But
80s.
it's been a long
mid-
time.
80s.
It was the tour, huh?
It was the Spectrum
Yeah,
in
it had to be.
Philadelphia.
No, it's Graffiti Bridge.
Right.
Oh, right.
right.
Speaking of morbid things.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I just did the University of Minnesota today, and people have actually done doctorates on Graffiti Bridges. I said, please tell me what that movie's about, because
Listen,
they got dissertations about that.
With all due respect to our beloved boss,
Yeah.
if he belched, there would be a study
Yeah, exactly.
on spans as to, well, what do you think he ate? What made him belch?
Yeah.
Should he have taken some Pepto-Bismol or something? What, there'd be an analysis of his belching. So,
Oh my God.
Question everything.
that's the good thing, though.
Yeah, it is.
It's how many artists can you say that about?
Yeah, because some of these students that are getting their PhDs in this weren't even born when we made this movie, which is, you want to look at yourself. It's 40 years ago. Some of these are like 33 years old, 32 years old. They weren't even born when Purple Rain was made. And it's like, okay.
Which is cool, because I've got a lot of nieces and nephews of all ages, from like 10 to 50. And the younger ones, they don't know who he is and could care less.
Yeah.
But that's generational. That happens. We didn't care who Cab Calloway was, but we knew James Brown, Craig.
Yeah. Exactly.
Every generation has their thing. But
You guys definitely have the credit of a timeless movie that's going to last. So,
yes,
And the reality is happening. It's starting to be less and less.
Yeah, I would say though that the impact of his music is everlasting. Even if they're listening to music now, they may not realize the influences that his music may have on their music. Let's say their music, but it's there. The same way, Alan, as you just mentioned, that Cab Calloway's music had some influence on those later genres that came along in the 70s and 80s and things like that. And just kind of build on the shoulders of giants.
Yeah, the music's everlasting, and the best of it is timeless. There's some things that he did, like any other artist, that may sound a little dated because of the keyboard sounds or the drum machine, You know, the technical part of the music is a little bit out of date. But the songs, I mean, you know, we think about Prince as such an amazing entertainer. I don't think he gets enough credit as a songwriter. I mean, this guy wrote and crafted brilliant pop music.
Yeah.
You know, at a time where so many other records sounded the same. You know, whether it was Jodeci or Boyz II Men or whoever the hell else was making records in the 80s that were successful. You know, there was a similarity to the sound and the production of all those records, but nobody sounded like Prince, and he didn't sound like anybody else.
And his style kept changing, and everything just kept changing, album to
Prince
album.
didn't sound like Prince. Exactly. He would change it up.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
there were copycats, of course, but
Of course.
but this, I don't know. I call you Mr. Christopher. I'll just call you Mr. for short.
Sure.
I don't know if his style kept changing as much as evolving. I mean, he grew as a human being. You know, when he started and blew up, he was still a kid. At least to me, he was. To Craig, he was. And you know, to the rest of you guys, it was more of your peer group age-wise, maybe even slightly older. I'm not sure, Huck and Gilbert, but you know, as he grew up as a human being, as a man, obviously the things he talks about in his music, the way he crafts it, learning as you know, I mean, he continued to grow as a musician and as a writer. He didn't stop. So I always thought it was kind of a natural evolution.
Yeah, and I think that one thing that everybody here knows that Prince really was a reader. I mean, he read the newspaper, read things. He wasn't just somebody who just, as much as people would like for him to be a crazy rock star, he really wasn't. He actually really was a studied personality. And I always thought that was, for me, it was really something that distinguishes him from other people. Because I had worked with Pink Floyd on the Wall tour before that, and there was girls and money, you know, and then the music, and you know, and he was really, you know, just somebody. And Alan knows this because I've told Alan this, is that he used to, you know, I'm dyslexic, so my spelling and my writing doesn't always make a lot of sense. So he would always be reading over, making changes on my shit. You know, it's like, man, leave my stuff alone. But, you know, he was that, you know, he should have probably been an elementary school teacher or something. But, you know, it's just, he was just a different type of artist, a real artist. That's probably the way to say it. You know?
Well, one of the first things I realized about him when I went to work for him on the 1999 tour was that, you know, he went to school, he paid attention. And I've worked for a lot of young artists that may be very smart human beings, but skipped a lot of school. And, you know, Prince was literate. I mean, his grammar was impeccable. When he wrote something, you know, he'd say, why don't you edit this? And I'm like, there's nothing to edit. You know, it's like, you know, he very much could have been a writer. His vocabulary and everything else was that of somebody who was learned.
What he listened to, he didn't play. He didn't play what he listened to.
Right. True. Right. And Jerome, I know we only got you for a limited amount of time here, so I want to get some questions in, specific Purple Rain questions, obviously, because this is the Purple Rain Roundtable, and all of these gentlemen that you see here were all involved. We wanted to get people on the show who were there, who were actually present during this process, and each one of you had a little bit different of a process. Obviously, Jerome, not only did you perform during the tour, but you were also in the movie and everything else. So I'm going to start with a movie question first. And this is obviously the big obvious one, is in regards to the time and the drastic changes. We're going to get deep right off the gate. Let's just do it. The drastic changes to the time lineup for the film. What was it like navigating that dynamic? I mean, because you seem really, really comfortable, you know, in the film, the camaraderie and everything, that the repertoire, you know, the rep that you and Morris have seems really cool. But we all know from reading the stories and stuff that Morris was just not really in a happy place when all that stuff went down.
No, but Morris wasn't in a happy place. But Prince, Fargnoli, Ruffalo, everybody, Craig, Allen, they all played a part in honing him in to be able to come and do what he needed to do. Once he got there, and once they got him on set, 2-3 takes, he killed it.
Mm-hmm. He did.
You know, that was the discipline in that. Everything else, I wasn't associated with that kind of stuff. What was going on? I closed out whatever it could have been.
Right.
And I accepted him coming and doing what he was supposed to. He's my friend. So, yeah, that was what it was for me.
Morris is a pro.
Yeah.
And despite whatever personal issues were going on with Prince over the band and the changes and whatever other personal issues he might have had in the home front, as Jerome said, you put him on stage, he's a pro. He's not going to embarrass himself. And he understood that despite his personal feelings, he had obligation to the producers and the other people in the cast, many of whom, Jerome, Prince, these were lifelong friends. So maybe you got some issues, but they're still your boys. And
we all had issues.
Yeah.
But Prince honed us in on, this is what we're doing. Let's go get that money.
Yeah. I think that for all of us, I mean, this, I've made dozens of TV movies and feature films. I would tell you that, when I came out of this picture, I came into it just because they were looking for somebody who had done a feature before. And luckily it was in my hometown and stuff like that. But I'm telling you, there was something about the chemistry of this film and the people involved, specifically the cast and the crew people, that we became not just crew people, we became family. And it's so weird because I never had this experience before where this is 40 years of knowing these people. 40 years. I mean, it's 40 days after shooting, you're like done with them. I mean, 40 years it's there's something, and I don't know if you can totally credit that with Prince, but there is something about the air that we were breathing together collectively that created this feeling. We just not coworkers. This is family shit. And it's amazing to me because I look at that and say, wow, I mean, if I never ever spoke to any of the people in any other groups I've ever worked with or films, I'm okay with that, but this is who we are.
And I continuously share it with each of the stories and times that we have to talk about Purple Rain, about Craig and Dawn Renee, who honed me and Morris in on who we were and characterization and delivering lines. They took the time, they embraced us, they met us at the door coming in, they walked us out, they said it's going to be all right. That was good. Next thing, and that was the support that we had. And Alan was there doing his management. Alan had become he became Paw.
Well, I think not Grandpapa. I think.
Me too.
I think. I think it's a testimony to two things. One of the first things Fargnoli said to me when he hired me is, keep the sharks away. We don't want the bad guys in this industry in this camp. And he meant everything from promoters to publicists to road crew. And we had from the very beginning, and Prince is also responsible for this, we had a mission to hire not just talented, but quality human beings.
Yeah.
And I've been, a lot of tours, and there have been others that shared that same kind of camaraderie. Most of the James Brown people that are still alive, we're all online with each other. And basically it's to see who died yesterday because we're all hell. But I mean, we had that camaraderie as well, even despite how crazy James Brown was. But Prince had this ability to intoxicate you with his self-confidence.
Yes, he
He
did.
made all of us believe in this shit.
Yes, he
Now,
did.
the people that came from LA, Craig, you were talking about the crew, and you can correct me if I'm wrong because you were physically part of that film crew. And I was stuck as kind of a liaison between the rock and roll camp and the film crew, which was turned very quickly into a very uncomfortable position. And I like to illustrate it very simply. Rock and roll people went to bed in the morning, film people got up in the morning. It was like the culture. And this is before MTV and music video and documentaries had merged. I mean, today the music industry and the film industry are like this, but back then it was oil and water.
Well, and
And
Craig can speak to this because he
my
knows.
impression was that a lot of the crew that came from LA were kind of, I don't want to say B level, and I don't mean all of them, but some of them. But they didn't come with the same confidence that we had. They were basically like, who is this little kid who's got the nerve to think he can carry a movie? He's had 2 hit records. What the hell? This is a, it was a payday because I couldn't get a better film job in LA. So I came to Minnesota in the friggin' winter, one of our worst winters, and took this gig. Now, eventually, over the course of the filming, a lot of them came around. Some did, some didn't. But I think part of the success of Purple Rain, the mission, was overcoming that because there was a feeling that this was just a folly. This was just some little egotistical rock and roll kid. And I think ultimately what changed it was the filming of the performance scenes. Most of those people probably never even seen him on stage.
They didn't know. Well, you remember this, because when we had the rehearsal at the first rehearsal, nobody showed up. Don Thorne, the DP, came late, but they didn't believe what it was. Some of them were really good, but they didn't believe in us. They thought, this is Minnesota. This is some bullshit film. Let's just walk through this situation, And Don Thorne came late, and I told him, I said, Don, you guys, your camera people should have come to this, because we had like 6 camera people that were going to shoot the First Avenue stuff. Only one person comes because they whatever, And so Prince's performance level was such a high level, sound wise and production wise. So when we shot First Avenue, they came and this is the attitude. They're LA and we're Minnesota and we don't know what the fuck we're talking about. And so they brought in cranes and dollies and focus pullers with headsets on, like Alan's got on right now. And so once Prince took off, they were like, they couldn't talk to each other, and definitely don't have time to have the dollies go up and down. And so we stopped for 2 days because they had no clue what they were about to see, And I was standing with Roy Bennett, and we were watching this, and we watched these people shut down. I watched camera people just throw their hands up in the air and walk away from their camera because they couldn't even keep up with what was happening. And that's because their ego had projected. And then eventually they realized that this is not your mother's, oatmeal. This is going to be a whole nother world that you just entered into, and you're right, Alan. That's when they started respecting us,
Yeah.
And this is
Craig,
that's
Craig, maybe
this is not your mother's oatmeal.
Right.
That's right. Craig,
we're naming the show.
Craig, you can speak to this because you're a filmmaker.
Yeah, right.
But I think that I've always thought that one of the heroes of this movie was Roy Bennett, because one of the frictions with the camera crew and with Don Thorne was Roy's attitude toward lighting and framing this thing. There was kind of a textbook way of shooting rock and roll performances back then. Yeah. And if you look at movies, you look at the Kiss movie, you look at the Earth, Wind and Fire movie that never even got released to theaters, and other films like that, and how the performances are shot is so rigid, and it's from one point of view. And Roy and some of the other people, Farnelly and obviously Prince, had an attitude that, like, we don't want this to look like one of those stupid shoots. I mean, even the TV shows, the rock concert TV shows, they were all shot the same way, and it was boring as hell. And it never captured the excitement of a stage show, because all you saw were these close-ups of the lead singer. You had no idea of the interplay with the band. You had no idea. You might have a camera try to follow him as he dances back and forth across the stage. Look at some of the old footage of James Brown, how rigid it is. And, Roy was like, no, this has to make people in the theater feel like they're at a live gig. And they succeeded in doing that. It didn't come easily. It was like pulling teeth. But Craig, if you could talk about what that really, I can describe the result, but I can't describe what it was that made it that way.
Yeah, it was Roy, and that was the fight. Is they wanted regular, midnight special type shooting, and that's why they brought in the dollies and the cranes and stuff. I mean, you know how long it takes a crane to go up and come down? Well, they thought they were going to have time to do that and still have Prince in frame. So what in Roy's lighting approach, they altered it from what he initially wanted, which was the lighting cues and stuff that were based on the dramatic elements of Prince's music. So they wanted just a regular wash, but the problem is that Prince is he's an ignited type of performer, and the reason we had to stop for the 2 days is because we had to go back to what Roy's approach and what Prince really is about and what he wanted to do. Is where is he going to go now? Because that was the problem that the camera people were having. They thought that they were just going to be shooting the stage and they'll dolly back and forth, and maybe up and down a little bit. But when Prince is going across the stage and jumping on the speakers and stuff, they couldn't do it, and they couldn't keep him in focus. So we had to create certain light levels across the stage because we needed the depth of field to basically catch him, but also catch the other people in the band. And we obviously had to have light for Dr. Fink and Lisa, because he wanted the people to see the band like you would if you were in real life, not like you're on a TV show. And so that was part of the process. And then ultimately that meant lighting cues at specific times on specific songs. I mean, Roy was brilliant. I mean, I really respect him a lot, and being with him for those shoots was great because he really understood the difference between what you see on a Saturday Night Live, not Saturday Night Live, but Midnight Special, any of those kind of shows, and what you see on a concert level, Right. It just was just an incredible ability to capture the feeling, and to Alan's point of view, that's where that ego, again, it was so obvious that the LA people came in with an ego. But I tell people, the thing that I knew had changed around is Don Thorne, who was a great Academy Award-winning type of cinematographer, used to always wear those black leather gloves all the time and smoking cigarettes, where he had had his director chair made out of tan tool leather and shit. He by the end of the shoot, he had on lace gloves. I told him, I said, "Oh, Prince has got you now, doesn't he?" Because they had to buy into the world that we had created and not tell us what they wanted. Because I remember when it snowed that one time we did First Avenue exterior, and they wanted to literally, I don't know if you guys know what winter's like, because I'm not sure where you guys are, Chris. They wanted to hose down First Avenue with 20 below zero weather. I said, you guys, you can't do that. This is going to be an ice castle. You got to get shovels out there. Get some guys, get some shovels and shovel the snow. Are you insane? And we know what we're talking about. They didn't think we did, but So anyway,
wasn't that the night that Apollonia's foot got caught in the door?
Yeah, that was the day. Yep, that was the day. Yeah.
Jerome, I know we're running out of time with you. I know you got another thing you got to do, unless you're willing to hang out a little bit more. But I definitely want to make sure we get some questions in. But I also got to make sure my gentleman here sitting in the green room that is in the mix got to fill in one of these little empty squares right here. Damon Dickson's in the house.
Hey, Damon.
Hey, what's going on, fellas?
Hey, I feel slighted. We got two North Polars in this room.
Jerome, where are you going? We haven't seen you in 20 years.
Goodness.
That's right. Polars in the house.
So, Jerome, let me ask you a couple questions. Well, first off, you had said that you had never acted in anything before, and that Craig actually had helped you kind of doing a little bit of acting lessons off to the side. What are some of the things that Craig taught you that you still carry with you as far as like being in film or being filmed in general?
Relax. Just read it. Be you. Relax. Just read it. Be you. Relax. Memorize it. Be you. It's gonna work. You did good. You're ready. I didn't believe his ass though. I believe Dawn when she said it.
Dawn's good. Yeah, Dawn is a theater director, so she's really good too at that. Yeah, it's the people. Yeah, it was this. I think that everybody's again. Maybe this is part of the magic of the Prince thing. Is everybody's is a character in organically. Everybody is.
We believed in it.
Yeah,
we believed in it, and we believed in each other. We believed in the direction. We believed in the tutelage that we got from Craig and Dawn and Prince. Prince was in there too while we were rehearsing. Okay, and we run through it, and he'd watch it, and he'd say, "Okay, we're ready to go," and we go out and get our 2 takes, and like I said, we come back and watch Prince take 40 takes.
So Jerome, I got a question. When I came to Minnesota, it was just begun that dancing lessons and acting lessons, and Magnolia hadn't even been hired yet. That was one of the first things that happened when I got here. At what point did you begin to believe? Because I know a lot of us were just as skeptical as the LA people at first. I'm like, when Farnolli called me, he's like, "Come to Minnesota, we're going to make a movie." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, Spielberg." I mean, what? When did you believe?
When I started to believe? When we came down to the set and Don Thorne was in there and all the cameras were in there and the rehearsals were taking place. I was like, wow, this is bigger than the videos that we've been doing. Because, all we did up to that point were videos. There was no dialogue in the videos. It was just facial expressions and dance moves. And this was taking us into a whole nother realm of the entertainment. And I think we found some embracement of it and took hold of it and kept it moving.
Yeah, I mean, and you got Damon here, who obviously, was a dancer in the film. Yes. got a little bit of action. I mean, how intense were the dancing? I guess Prince had his own choreography. He kind of was doing his own thing, but I know there was also, there was a lot of different stage movements and stuff that they were doing during the songs that were very music video-ish. But how intense were those dance sessions? I mean, I guess anybody can answer this. We'll start with you, Jerome, and then I'll go to Damon then next.
Well, it was something that we had been doing for a couple of years. So the intensity, it was just something natural. We made a plan and we did it. We executed it and got it in order and was ready to go. It became just part of who we were as characters. So we didn't have to put a lot of work into it. Now, I watched Damon and those guys go through what they were doing, and I wasn't going to be doing that shit.
Yeah, exactly. And Damon, you guys didn't have a lot of time, because I remember Prince came to me and said, "I have these guys, they're going to do some dance numbers." And the last thing we needed, we had 600 extras of the First Avenue stuff, plus the bands and stuff like that. The last thing I needed was more people around. He said, "Well, these guys," and he wouldn't tell me what they're going to do. We just had to have a camera ready to kind of get, it's like this thing. But you guys had like a day to do what you guys needed to do.
I don't even think it was a day, Craig. It was more like he came to us that night and Alan was the one that pointed out, when Prince said he wanted us to come do something. Alan was the one who came up to me and said, "Hey, you one of the guys dancing in the bathroom?" I'm like, yeah. So he's like, "Well, the kid wants you guys to do something." I'm like, "All right, well, yeah, all right, I'll let him know." And so he said, "You would know who the guys were." I get everybody together. It's like, I think it was like 11 o'clock at night. We were finishing up the shoot, and he says, brings back this tape, and he says, "Hey, I need you guys to have this ready tomorrow morning." And we're like, "It's 11 o'clock at night. We got to be back here at 5:30, 6 o'clock. Yeah. And we went and put that stuff together, came back the next day, and it called us down to this room where Jerome and the rest of the time was sitting in a room with Prince, and he's like, "Okay, let's see what you got." He put on one song, and I believe it was Computer Blue, and we went through the first couple moves, and he said, "That's good." And we walked out of the room, we heard a bunch of laughing. That was it. Yeah. Next thing we know, we were on this balcony.
Yeah.
Wow.
Prince
Prince had a team.
Backlighting and stuff behind you guys when you guys are doing those dance moves and stuff.
Well,
that's some
Don
really
Thorne.
Yeah, it's Don Thorne. I mean, it doesn't say it was literally like that. It's like all of a sudden, and you didn't. I didn't know that they actually. I never saw the rehearsals. I just knew he told me this is what they're going to do to get the camera people to get it set up. And again, they walked into a hot set, so it's like, okay, do your thing, whatever that's going to be.
Yeah,
but it turned out to be, it turned out to be amazing. So
you know, the interesting thing is too that Prince was able to see it. He visualized it in his product, and he had the team. These two gentlemen here, they were able to approach us, make us comfortable, and put us in position for something that somebody else had in their mind, but they had a relationship with them to make it happen.
Yeah.
Jerome, was there a moment in there while you were doing your thing that an ad lib came in that stuck in the film that wasn't written in, but it was just so great and just like, wow, that happened? Was anything like that happen in this movie?
No, our dialogue was pretty tight. They wanted it exact. Wouldn't you say, Craig?
Yeah, because you guys rehearsed. Because how the rehearsals with him and the time. I mean, with Jerome and the time, and specifically with Morris, was all rehearsed before camera roll, so they knew exactly what it was. Because again, we didn't have a lot of time. This was not a huge, expensive movie, so we didn't have time to play around. I mean, Prince is Prince, and so that was a different story. But it was really like getting it done the way they needed to get it done, so that we could move on. It was a pretty tight schedule. It was. There was very little improv. I mean, but again, Jerome and Morris specifically, but even Jelly Bean and they're characters already. And so when I was always telling, just be yourself. You don't have to get in. See, this is my issue with Prince. Prince was acting on top of acting. And so some of his stuff didn't ring true.
Double cheat.
Yeah. And so you'd have to get him back, stop acting. Because I remember when we were doing this stuff with his dad, with Clarence Williams III, and he was trying to come up to the level of Clarence. You can't do that. You can't do that. You need to. Clarence was back there. There were scenes where Clarence was actually whipping himself with a belt before he'd go on stage. So he would whip himself with the belt to get angry and to get mean and to come in. Then he'd come on the set and they say action. And he would do that. But he's that kind of a method actor. So Prince I said, Prince, you got to be yourself. Don't try to act up to that level where you got to stop this, which is like not part of his personality. And so there's more it takes. That's
Jerome, did you whip yourself with a belt too?
Huh?
Did you whip yourself with a belt too?
On the weekend.
On the weekend.
No, he had a girlfriend who did that.
No, I had enough whoopings.
Now, I know this is a totally different time frame, and anybody can answer this question, but I guess we'll go with you, Jerome, since you had like one of the most iconic scenes out of there. But a lot of people viewed this movie as very misogynistic. And of course, you had that scene of picking up that woman and throwing it into the trash can. Was there any point in time where you're in the middle of this movie and you're thinking, this is kind of rough? But I understood that the script was actually changed quite dramatically. It was like a lot darker than it ended up being. But honestly, when it was being made, what was your view about that?
About stuffing her ass in the toilet? I mean, in the trash can?
Not toilet, trash can.
She walked up with all that foul language. Did she deserve to get away with that shit?
So I'm gonna get though.
I'm gonna tell you, I did it. The first take was really, really nice. Remember, Craig?
I remember that. Yeah.
And Prince came up to me, and Prince said, "Stuff her ass in there. Stuff her ass. I want your hand on her ass when you push her down in there."
Yeah.
Okay, and do it. And I looked at him. I said, "Okay." The second take, I did it.
Yeah.
And my coat got caught up in her clothes, and I had to snatch my coat out of there with it. Slam it down. And when they said cut, Prince ran over to me. No, it was acting, so it can't be labeled misogynistic at all.
Yeah.
It was acting.
Okay.
I would love to see the first take. What did you do? Just like gently drop her down or something? Here, Mitch, let me show you your garbage can.
It was.
I treated her like she was crystal.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, Prince, you guys were treating it like, okay, we're going to do this, as opposed to doing it with some type of energy, and that's what Prince wanted. He wanted that. I don't think that the movie has misogynistic elements, as all movies at that period of time had, but
right.
it was a film of its time. I mean, it's like, I just watched the film with Shirley MacLaine and Jack Lemmon, where he plays the police officer in France. I mean, he slaps her. I mean, full out slaps her across the face. You could never get away with that today.
I never slapped a woman.
Yeah, exactly. There you go, Joe. It was a time, and people say that, but what did they think? I mean, this was a time. It was a type of movie. It was a character. Besides, the film has specifically hard, strong female characters throughout the film. I mean, Apollonia, Jill, who I still think deserved a lot more in the film than she got, so it really is not about, this is about a masculine film towards this, because Prince is, and even Prince's mother, is really directed towards that attitude and against females. That's actually, Prince starts to change. Every character has to change in the film, so the changing aspect of Prince is becoming more tapped into his more feminine side and his tender side, because that's what the whole story is about. He's got to come to that for the band too, with the time, with everybody. Revenge is not the way. I have to be much more tapped into my emotions. So you got to set it up so that it starts out a certain way, in order for it to come to a better place at the end.
So it was established as a character arc, basically.
Yeah, I mean, all films have to have an arc to them, or they don't function properly.
Got to show the bad, show the greater of the good.
Yeah, he has to change, or what? The band hates him, the time hates him. I mean,
And were there any active pranks that happened during the? I know there was pranks were like synonymous with Prince back in those days, but were there any active pranks that you can remember that happened during the movies, or was like specifically the movie just too costly to take on that kind of nuttiness, I guess?
I think Gilbert and Alan should answer that. They were the worst with pranks.
Mm-hmm. but they had nothing to do.
That didn't come to the tour. You guys, I'm enjoying this conversation about the movie.
Later on, but them two are the biggest pranksters.
Yeah.
So I've got a question for you, Huck and Gilbert, because you were the new guys at the time, and you hadn't toured with us yet. And, Craig and I had been around the block a few times. And, of course, Prince had several tours, so on and so on. But what was your impression coming into the camp and seeing all this madness?
I'll let you answer that, Huck.
It was amazing. And what happened is I was going out to rehearsals, or I was going out to the movie shoots with Mark Brown. And that's how Chick and I became, good friends. And then me and Gilbert were in college together. So I was like, man, you got to come out here and see this. It's pretty cool. And so, but it was big. It was amazing. Alan, I remember you saying something to Chick early on the tour. And it's like, these two newbies are coming on the biggest tour ever, and they don't really have a clue of what's getting ready to happen here. And it was true, because I won't speak for Gilbert, but I thought that every tour was like Purple Rain. I was like, wow, this is amazing. 20 trucks and an entourage this big. This is like how it's gonna be. So it was pretty overwhelming for me.
Let me say this. I might have said that to Chick. I don't remember what I said yesterday, let alone that day. But you guys didn't show.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how much of that is due to you guys or Chick and his guidance. Because Chick certainly was a major player in creating the culture in the early years of Prince on the road. And everything from the backstage culture to the travel culture. I mean, he wasn't a road manager, but he might as well have been, because he had that influence on people. And crazy as he was a quality guy. I mean, he didn't tolerate any bullshit, but he didn't want any, he didn't want the sharks around either. So Chick and I pretty much got along. We were on the same. I mean, you can't find two more different people in the world. Chick's from wherever the hell he was from. I'm from New York and think I know everything. And he don't think he has to know anything because he can kick your ass in 5 seconds. So, I mean, we're like oil and water, but we bonded pretty quick. And I think it was because we both shared the same goal, respected Prince. And when Chick said, I got these new guys and they're good guys, nobody doubted him. I mean, we might have pranked and teased you because the rookies always get roasted. But, you guys stepped up.
Yeah, I would say, speaking of Chick, a lot of our attitude or how we were approaching things, he let us know that this was a serious job. Like, we were not there to, hang out, party, or anything else. It's like, you guys are on, and this is what I expect of you. And so it was really kind of following suit of the lead that he had placed on us. And I think when Huck and I came along, Chick had been out, I don't know how many years, but a few. And I think he was looking for, someone that he could rely on to help relieve some of that. And so Huck and I got a lot of responsibility really fast. And again, it's kind of like it's kind of like you're thrown in there, and you're either going to perform and do the job well, or you were going to be gone. He wasn't going to take any BS from you. And so that's kind of how we started. That's how I felt, from the moment Hucky invited me out to say I had a job. And then for me, I definitely was taking my leads from Huck on okay, what do we do? How do we do this? So, I had good mentors in both Chicken and Hucky, and how I was going to approach things.
They were amazing. They were amazing young men out there doing grown folk stuff.
I do want to take time because Jerome's here, and you probably don't remember this, but on the Purple Rain tour, our first stop was in Detroit. And one of the things that the newbies had to do, as Alan calls us, was luggage. And Hucky and I were kind of like, I mean, you're doing luggage for whatever that A group was. I don't know how many bags we had, like 200 or 300, Huck. I mean, it was a truck full of bags. So I'm outside, trying to understand, wait, we just went from being bodyguards to now we're doing luggage, and we're doing this thing. And I never felt like, anything that it was beneath me to do it. It was just kind of like, how does 1 + 1 equal luggage? And so we're out there trying to organize all these bags, and Jerome comes down. And this is Jerome Benton, who was in the Purple Rain movie. And he starts helping Huck and I organize the bags. And I said, you can't be down here doing this. And he kind of looks at me and he goes, who do you think was doing this before you? And he helped us get it together. But that for me, and there were many teachable moments between Jerome and I, that he just kind of, again, I was like, if that guy can be humble enough to do this work, then that's how I have to be. And I don't know that you've ever realized how much that impacted me, but it really did throughout my whole time and career there. It's like, it was just do the job, get the job done. It needed to get done, and that's really all that mattered. That's how I approach it.
Gilbert, I love your ass.
Man, you know how it is, man. You know how it is.
I think it goes back to what Alan and Craig was saying earlier. It was this amazing chemistry. You just had a bunch of great people together, and just really, I feel like genuinely cared about each other.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, even now, I mean, I can honestly, and I mean this from my heart. It's like I see these faces, and it brings me joy.
Yeah.
It's not that guy. It's like Craig and I, we go to lunch. I see Damon from time to time. I talk to Jerome. How can I touch base? I've seen Alan at some, and each time it's lighthearted. I'm glad to see these people. I'm glad to hear they're doing well. I'm interested in what they're doing, and I just have love for them. And that's just the bottom line. There's no gray area. It just is.
Yeah.
And to
Yeah.
add to it, Alan and his spouse, Gwen.
Yeah, Gwen. Yeah.
What an amazing Paw and Mama on the road with us.
True.
They were seasoned. They helped us grow. They let us grow, and they took care of the machine. They took care of the machine. They kept the machine oiled. They would like, you guys need to go to bed. Did you guys eat? All those little things. They watched over us. And when I talk about it right now, I think about it, I get a tear in my eye because that was a transition in my life. I was me growing into a whole nother space. And hearing Gilbert and his respect for what I did, seeing Hucky, and I grew up with Damon. We both were chasing sports instead of entertainment.
Yeah.
And look, we both started doing shit that we was doing at North Commons. Around the world.
That's right.
Yeah, there you go. And what I find interesting about this is not just as far as the movie and the cast is concerned, but these were people that Prince had already handpicked in his life for the band before the movie ever happened. Right. So Jerome was in the picture already, as part of the life as playing in the band. Morris and obviously all the guys in the time, and just
I was a roadie.
It's just so amazing to me that he had already constructed this cast before the movie even happened. And I just think that's so significant in just his ability to be able to identify that characteristic in a person and just say, that's the kind of person I want in my life. That's the kind of person that's going to be a rung on my ladder, or that I'm going to be able to help, or that I'm going to be able to serve. Right. And it's just, I find that intriguing in itself.
We were Prince's Lego set.
Well put.
That's good.
Well put.
There you go. He had an innate sense of picking out talent. And I said this on your show before, though, and you can look at this group here, and this is what I mean. And he was fantastic. Everyone knows how I feel about the talent and everything else. There's never going to be another. There never was another Prince, and there never will be. However, as I've said before, you take out certain people, certain components in that makeup, and it could have been a different story.
Right.
He was the captain of the ship, but that crew that he had behind him helped him to get to where he got to.
Yeah.
Because when the Purple Rain tour started, and Alan knows this, is that Prince called me 3 times to be the road manager on this. I don't know who you had before, but I turned it down. I was in New York making a movie. It's like, no, I don't. Thank you, but and I remember the time he called me it was a Monday before Thursday Thanksgiving, and he said, and I didn't have anything else to do, and I said, yeah, okay, I'll try it. I said, I can be there after Thanksgiving, so no, you can be here tomorrow, and hung up on me, and that was it. But he obviously said that because I asked him later, I said, why would you call me and want me to do this? I never did the road management. I was a musician, so I sort of understood that and had worked a little bit, but I had never done road management. Alan taught me everything I needed to know, but he basically, for whatever he saw something that would fit into this component, because obviously the road manager they went out with wasn't the right guy, so they needed other something else there. So
and the elements of the road too. We had some strong-willed people in the time, very strong-willed people, and we ran through some road managers. But we respected Alan Leeds and Gwen. Everybody else, we ran Buzz out of there.
You had to respect this because 20 of those bags were out.
Yeah, right.
And I knew I was going to be calling you Paw one day.
It seemed like we added a suitcase in every town. It was like, God forbid there's a day off because Gwen's going shopping.
Oh my gosh, that thing is just incredible. I mean,
Amazing.
it's just, and the other thing too about this is that while this movie is being made, he's also crunching together this soundtrack. I just can't fathom how these two historic things, the movie and this amazing soundtrack, pretty much being created simultaneously. As I mean, Craig, how does that? I'm trying to figure out a way to best pose this question, but did it at any point did it ever seem like he was just kind of capping out, or was he always at like he was always operating at like just high level that never got?
I think it always happened. I was not around for the album. I didn't come back in town until like October, I think I started when we first doing pre-production stuff. So I wasn't there for the album. I mean, I know when I got the call from Al Mignoli, he said, I'm making this movie. And he remembered from school, because I went to school with him, that I was from Minnesota. You want to come and make a movie? I said, come home and make some money? Shit, yeah, I'll do that. But he told me it was about Prince. And I said, they're making a movie about Prince. I said, it's like, this is going to be some, beach blanket bingo shit. I had to think about it. I knew who Prince was, obviously, but I thought, I didn't think he was that big that they would make a movie about him, And the way Alan was describing it, he said, well, we got this. It's a great idea. You should do this. But I wasn't around with the record because he said the music was already done, because that was my first thing, because I did the wall tour for Pink Floyd, and that was a big deal, and it was so massive. So is the music done? He said, yeah, he's already done the music. So Alan can talk about that, because I don't know, but I think everything else, he was at a high pitch level of performance his whole career. I mean, as long as I've known him, even unfortunately close to the end, he was always trying to be,
Well, when did you realize that it wasn't going to be a beach blanket bingo movie? At what point during the movie creation process you go?
In pre-production, it's funny you should say that, because, the real reason how I really figured it out was pre-production. But I'll tell you what made me the scene was the first day of shooting. We were down in Henderson, and I walked by Cavallo, Raffalo, and Fagnoli, and they were reading a book about how to be a producer. And I told them, I said, you guys should have read this book before you started this movie.
Wow. I remember you telling me that story.
Yeah. And I'm saying, so I had to but I had never seen Prince be who he was, and that's what I realized. Oh, this is going to be a different kind of movie.
Oh my, Producers for Dummies.
It was a pretty organic process. Everything with Prince was organic, because he changed his mind. He would plan things in his head, but he wasn't real good about sharing the details with people. And he'd leave you guessing, like, okay, you want this as a result, but how do you sense getting from point A to point B? He wasn't real good at explaining his thoughts.
You know what? I'm going to add, Alan, though. There's a reason for that. I honestly believe that in the back of his mind, he's like, I'm going to lead these people out into this wilderness. And once I get them out there, the only way to get back is to follow me.
That's exactly right.
That was it.
And
you had to go along.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes. Yes, Gilbert.
I think, to Christopher, to your question, I think that he saw the music and the film as one thing. I mean, the majority of the music was finished before filming began. I think the last song was it "Take Me With You" was done. I think for a specific scene they needed something, and he did "Take Me With You." And Dove's Cry was kind of late in the process. I think that was one of the last songs that he did. But the majority of it, Let's Go Crazy, Computer Blue, all of that was thematic to what he already had in his little notebooks as to what the movie was going to be about. So I don't really think he saw them as separate things. I mean, other than obviously the technical aspects of making a record versus making a film, but conceptually it was all one.
Were any of you present for the barn scene?
Yeah, I was there. We call it the Purple Rain. They actually the Purple Rain scene, which was it's a regret that there's two things that I regret that are not in the movie or should have been on the special DVD. Is one is that scene, but also Jill's scene where she playing the piano at First Avenue. I forgot it was Wednesday or whatever. That is beautiful. That was beauty, pure but the barn scene, it was like we had several 100,000 gallons of purple water to make the rain. We had the barn, and it was and it took us all day and all night to prep it. And I think the problem was that it was so sort of romance type, like a novel, like a bodice ripper type novel. I mean, he's got his flower shirt and the saddle, and her, and she's got a blanket on, and it's raining, and it was kind of different than what's the rest of it lacked sort of the authenticity of Prince and the music and the industry that's been created in the whole body of the film. It stood out like this real thing. Okay, so now we've just gone through we're waiting for Flavio to come in, or Fabio, whatever his name was, to come in. It was this weird feeling film scene, but I mean, it was an expensive scene, but it was so much production. I mean, we had scaffolding and rain, and it was like a night. And Apollonia felt uncomfortable. I think partly because she was actually naked, and it was beautiful, but it was in the wrong movie. Let's probably put it that way.
And she was beautiful in it too.
Yeah. She. Telling you, I mean, and I always remember people remember the women on the film when the saddle came out. It was like, okay, so maybe this is, because they sort of make love on this horse saddle in the middle of the barn and the hay and stuff like that. It started to get this other kind of feel where the women say, okay, so what are we doing here again?
All right, Jeff.
But it's not misogynistic.
Okay.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's not. Yeah, that was one of those things that say, okay, that may be a little more than the audience. Besides, we had to believe that Apollonia was not really totally subservient. She had to not be totally subservient as a character, because ultimately Prince has to come around. He has to come around by the end of the movie.
All I got to say, why can't she be subservient?
So just misogynistic.
How many takes was that scene?
That was a lot. That was a lot. There was, I mean, again, everybody. I know people were like, okay.
Let her shoot the scene and then cut it out.
Greg, was there ever an issue about rating? Were you ever worried about this would bring an X rating?
Yeah, because there was the rape scene under the bridge. Yeah, that had to be had to be altered a little bit. Again, I'm saying you can't keep this woman. You can't keep and be expected to be a good guy if you always are abusing her, or not necessarily abusing her, but always using her sexually as subservient. The rape scene. A lot of people forget that that's in the movie.
That's a filmmaker, y'all. Y'all
No, I mean,
for those that don't know, just kind of give a little brief synopsis about the rape scene that was removed.
Yeah, it was under the bridge. He's mad at her, but he does rape her, and I mean, in classic process, you can just, is he mad? Does he feel he has right to take sex from her because they had a relationship? No, he doesn't. I mean, none. And so that was the original one we did. They had to tamper it down so that it was more rough sex, where kind of what the barn was about, so they were trying to keep this so Prince could actually come back, for the audience to actually fall in love with him and realize he's not the asshole that the band says all the time. He's not the asshole that the time sees him as. He had to come around at the end in order for us to, he can't be his dad. He has to be better than his dad. I'm not like my father. It had to be that, and so they had to sort of alter a lot of these situations. And then seeing the rough cut of that is like, okay, this motherfucker is he takes what he wants and does what he wants, and nobody likes him, and he does, you can't have that character can't be redeemed. So.
Right. Got to minimize the clock.
We want to welcome y'all to Purple Rain Roundtable, where you will only hear that.
But again, this is why I was saying, if you take certain people out of this story, that
Mhm.
aren't there to say, no,
Mhm.
this is a
Yeah.
different story.
Yeah.
And what Craig was talking about,
Mhm.
having those people around that background in film or just the experience to say, yeah, you got to cut this out, you got to do that,
Yeah.
makes a
This
difference.
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is a real panel. This is a real panel of what took place.
Yeah.
Right. And
This
that's
is
what
a
we
real-
want because nobody else is going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. No. And again, we always know that Prince was very sexual. I mean, probably more so, as part of his performance or his persona than possibly in real life. But we had to be careful because even when I did the coming guitar scene at the end, which he came to me one day and said, I want my. He says, "This is what I want. I want my guitar to come at the end of the film." And I'm like, "What?" So he said, "Yeah, I want this." He says, "Can they do that?" I said, "Yeah, special effects could do that." I said, "Let me talk to them first because these guys were like Hollywood guys. They had been Vietnam, like bomb experts in Vietnam. So these guys are not, they were no hippies. These were like serious guys, demolitions experts. That's what they were. So I took them out the back alley, literally. I just needed to get them away from the rest of the crew and everybody else. And so I said, "Can we talk about something?" And they said, "Yeah, what's up?" I said, "He has an idea for the ending of the film. And he wants his guitar to ejaculate into the audience at the end." And they looked at me and it's like, I thought they were literally going to jump me. I wanted to be, just in case they kicked my ass, I wanted to be away from anybody else. So they looked at me and said, I said, it's the climax of the movie. He wants literally to be on top, And so they finally looked at me and said, "Are you for real?" I said, "Yeah, no, this is they said, so they said, okay. And they went into this like they were doctors. They got several guitars of his type of guitars. They run pipes up to. They were working with hydraulics and texture that would shoot out far enough that would get out into the audience and would have the same kind of. I mean, they went after that. They spent so much time. I was like, they say they pull me aside and say, "Okay, let's look at this. See how this looks." It was they had a trigger and it was like oh. But that again goes back to what Gilbert said. It's like the people really got into this. They believed in what his vision was for the film and what the film had to say, and ended up bringing this thing to fruition. Because my traditional LA special effects guys would have looked at me and would have slapped me and walked away, but they knew that they had just witnessed something with this guy. They witnessed the performance. They witnessed these scenes. They had seen him, doing his thing. They were not just a normal. He was not a normal guy. He was a true artist, and I think that's what anybody in this business really respects.
And that squirt made it to the tour too.
Yeah, exactly.
I call it a squirt.
I mean, once you figured out how to do it, but I mean, it was just the idea of it's like they put hydraulics and but they really figured it out so that he could actually trigger it. They didn't have to have backstage with a pump or whatever. They could. That was the kid.
St. Paul Peterson wanted to say hello to everybody. He says, "Hey, all," with the hand. Say hello.
What's up, Paul?
Hey, Paul.
Man, that's just.
Hey, Paul.
I'm sorry. What were you going to say, Alan?
The jism in the guitar, it made it to the tour.
Let's go.
And I almost got fired in Birmingham, Alabama, because one night it malfunctioned. And at the end of the show, everybody's waiting for this, and it just came out like.
Yeah, right.
Now, mind you, I'm not a technician, so I'm not actually the guy doing this. But
we now have pills for that.
Yeah, right.
But the buck stopped here.
Yeah, exactly.
And he caught. I don't think he was out of the building before Chick was on the walkie-talkie.
Yeah, right.
And said, "Come to his room."
Yeah.
I had to go to the hotel, go up to his room. Came up and there's like a conference table in his suite, and he's sitting there at the end of the table. I sit down, and he doesn't say a word. Now that's unusual because Prince talks a lot.
Right, he talks a lot.
When not always, but if he has a meeting, he talks a lot. Nothing, nada. And we were leaving that night for Memphis and trying to beat a storm up the town. I mean, and I'm in a hurry to get everybody on the bus, and I'm sitting here just nothing, crickets. I swear it had to be 10 minutes before he said, "Can you explain to me how this is never going to happen again?"
Ooh.
And
Ooh.
I'm like, I really don't have a degree in jism guitars, but I can tell you, I talked to Tom Marzullo, who was our production manager, and he assured me, and we're making steps to fix it and have a backup ready. Case, I just started spinning bullshit because I don't know. I mean, shit happens. You
Yeah,
do
right.
100 shows.
Yeah.
It'd be perfect. Shit happens. To this day, I don't know what happened that night, why, but I made him think I knew why, and I made him think it wasn't going to happen
Right.
again.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
every night, at the end of the show, I just crossed my fingers and prayed. It was like, I think it was Hawkeye who ran that.
Yeah, it was
And,
hard. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
yeah,
hard.
but Rick Hendrickson, who's an experienced technician, still works in the Twin Cities,
Really?
Broadway in different
Yeah.
venues. And it was just shit happens. But
Yeah.
I mean, dude was like the world had ended. It was like
Fantastic show.
it was the
We need
scariest
more fluffers.
moment of the whole tour for me. It's
Mhm.
like, how you're responsible for some shit you have absolutely no responsibility
Right.
for.
But Alan, all of us have had that conversation. You know, I've had it. Gilbert, Craig, Damon, Jerome. We've all had that conversation.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
smallest thing was the biggest thing.
Yeah.
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 Wait. Which conversation? Not about,
Oh, about stuff not working. Stuff not working.
Oh yes, right.
Yes. Yes.
Or
Okay.
why you didn't do this? Why did
Yeah.
you keep doing that?
Yeah.
I think he really thought he could do every one of our jobs better
Mhm.
than we
Mhm.
did.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Or at least
For
at
sure.
least he
Yeah.
made you think that
Yeah.
he felt that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. But he knew our job though.
Yeah. But to Alan's point, the shit just happens sometimes. Like the one time their curtain wouldn't come up, and he wanted me to have them cut it down. I said they can't cut this down. Well, to cut it down, you will never have another curtain. I can't do that. He said, well, what do you mean? I said, friends, I'm not. You mean I can have them cut it down, but you will never have another curtain on this tour. I mean, So I mean,
Remember, it came halfway up. They did Let's Go Crazy, and all you could see was their feet.
Right, exactly.
I get blamed for that too.
Yeah,
That was also my fault.
You guys are making me flashback. Good Lord.
Wait a minute. So it only came. How long did it stay? So it only came halfway up during Let's Go Crazy, and you could only see their feet.
Yeah.
How long did it stay like that?
Pretty much the whole song.
Yeah.
What happened was the mechanism had stalled, so they had to get guys from the crew to physically pull it up.
Yeah.
And it wasn't smooth. It was guys on the lighting truss actually physically pulling this heavy ass curtain up. So it was pretty corny.
Yeah. And that's why I say you can't cut that down because it'll never work. He said, "Well, you know what a knife is, don't you?" I said, "Yeah, but I can't. They're not going to cut it down. I mean, this is like But you have to take that because he needed to get that out of his head before he went on stage because and then you just had to be okay with it. You just have to take it. And tomorrow it's like he does. He never kept a real grudge for anybody that is in this team ever. He always did.
No, he knew.
Yeah.
He knew. He knew.
And here's one of the two people that was part of that story. Here's somebody that's part of that story. Said I was one of the two guys who pulled up the main curtain after it fell back down.
All right.
All right, yeah. Kudos.
Yeah.
And with that said, again, that crew, and Tom Marzullo and his crew, the Purple Rain tour. I mean, they worked their asses off to pull that tour off. They
were the unsung heroes, particularly on that tour, because that tour was so physically grueling. That and obviously Love Sexy, but Love Sexy we had more off days. Purple Rain was so expensive we had to keep working.
Yeah.
And
wasn't it about 8-month tour?
Plus Love Sexy we had duplicates of a lot of stuff, and we would ship it ahead and set up a day ahead. there'd be an A set and a B set. But with Purple Rain, no, and it was we were rolling hard.
We October through, I think we October through April.
Yeah, no, to May. I think it was to May.
May, was it May?
Because we were supposed to go to Europe, remember, and we didn't do that.
Yeah, why did Purple Rain never go international? Why it just never? Was it a money thing or what? What happened?
He was done. He was on to the next.
He was like he was ready to move on.
Yeah, he wanted to make a movie. He talked because we had the conversation. It's like, I want to make a movie. Okay, well, can we finish the tour first? I want to make a movie. And so he started Under the Cherry Moon because I read the first script. Yeah.
And he had written Around the World in a Day on the Purple Rain tour.
Yeah,
right?
he wrote that. He did. Yeah, but he
recorded it. That record was almost ready to drop by the time we got off the road. He was on to the next.
All the time.
The thing about the Purple Rain show is, unlike all of his other tours, it was a very rigid set list. Because we were replicating the film, the whole production of the show was rigid. It was like everybody on that stage had to be in a certain spot at a certain time, because all the light cues were coordinated to their movements, and everything was trying to replicate the mood of the performances in the film. So you didn't have the kind of improvisation and freeform spontaneity that his great tours always had. And quite frankly, by halfway through the tour, everybody was sick of it, because you're just doing the same thing over and over and over.
I remember, we do Purple Rain at the end, and I think Huck can attest to this. You just be like, no encore, like, please don't do that.
We would. We sit there. We'd be backstage just waiting for this to be. Oh my God, no.
Yeah.
Because that was the only opportunity for him to have fun and be spontaneous was the encores. So one night he started bringing Chi Lee's band up to jam. Then all of a sudden I look up and my brother's up there every night. And I'm like, when did you join the band? and it's all of this shit going on at once. But that was it got to the point where the encores were longer than the show. Then it got so bad that he decided he would start doing. Now, maybe this is because he didn't trust the curtain, but he had the idea that we would do a song before the show started with the house lights still on. So it would be showtime, but instead of the house lights going out and the curtain coming up, the band would go on stage and play one of his old songs like Controversies, something that wasn't in the show. And the crowd would go crazy, and they'd hear this, and they didn't know if it was live or the PA system or what the hell was going on. And then there'd be after this long song, the lights would go down and the regular show would start. But he was looking for any opportunity to do something different, just to have some fun.
Jeff said we used to have Jeff said we used to have a pool every show of how long Purple Rain would last.
Yeah. He's right.
I tell people all the time, I was at 3 of the 5 shows of the Purple Rain shows in Atlanta. I was 16. And they were fantastic shows. But I always tell people that out of all the shows that I saw him at, those were, like you said, the most rigid. It was like, and Love Sexy seemed rigid, but there was like a little bit of freedom there, but there were still lighting cues and everything that you had to be in certain places at certain times. But Purple Rain was very, very, very rigid for sure.
It was like a stage play. It was scripted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just, just incredible. That's just amazing. I love to hearing all these stories. This is just fantastic. One of the things that I do want to talk about really, really quickly is the premiere of the movie. I know we're talking about all the making of the movie, but the build up to the actual premiere of the film. Gilbert, did you say you were who was that? I remember one of you said that you were at the premiere or in the limo with Prince.
No, Hucky and I were both. Hucky, Chick. Who else did we have with us, Huck, for that?
A guy named Jim and a guy named Eric. We were on the security detail. Alan was in the limousine, and Alan was calling us on the
on the
portable
walkie-talkie.
radios.
Yep, yep, yeah.
And
It was just Murray and Chick in the front, and me and Prince in the back.
Okay.
And the idea was we would drive close to the theater and then park and wait so that, because it's just a red carpet type shit where all the celebrities are pulling up in front and ceremoniously getting out of the limos and so on. So it had to be staged so that Wendy and Lisa would show up and Bobby Matt would show up, and then lastly the last car would be our Prince's car. So we got about halfway to the theater and he lost it. It's the only time I ever saw him lost it. He grabbed my hand because Chick was talking to one of you guys. I think it was you,
Mm-hmm.
and you were describing the scene of what it was like and all the celebrities that were coming in. And you sounded like you were a presenter on MTV or something. You were just you were rocking it, and Prince could overhear it. And he grabbed my hand and his voice broke like a little kid. And he said, What did he say? And
Mm-hmm.
he's shaking my
Wow.
hand.
Wow.
And I was stunned because this was a Prince I had never seen before.
Wow.
And
Wow. Vulnerable.
it took him about 10 seconds and he caught himself. He dropped my hand. How far are we from the theater? Right back into character. But for that 30 seconds or so was like crazy. I've never forgotten it. It's just I could feel it like it
Wow.
happened an hour ago. Um, so what happened is we parked the car about a block from the theater, and then it was like, okay, I'm gonna get out, and I ran to the theater and found Huck, Gilbert, and the rest of the guys, and to help receive him and so on. I guess I don't, they didn't need me there, but I had to do something. So I, acted like I had something to do and waited for the car like you guys did. Um, but yeah, it was pretty emotional.
But Chris,
It was like everything that had gone into this since he started the notebooks on the 1999 tour, through the filming, through the making of the album, through the test screenings and everything else. It all came. It's just like he exhaled, and it all came down at once. And typical Prince fashion, he recovered like that. But it
yeah.
was it was
Hucky, what
it
were we gonna
was a
say?
moment.
I I mean, it was 40 years ago, and as Alan's talking about this, and Gilbert, I'm looking at this guy. I still feel the electricity. I still feel the hair on my back. It was the most intense moment I think that I've ever had, in my life. I mean, watching all these celebrities, come on the red carpet, and then the fans. It was just the atmosphere was so charged. It. Like I said, I can vividly still see it.
It was like that for all of us. I mean, even Craig and I have been around for a while. We'd never been part of something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd been to
Yeah.
big stadium shows with James Brown and Kiss, and done things like that. But I'd never seen. I mean, this was a phenomenon. Purple Rain took over the world for like a year.
Yeah.
I mean, this was as big as anything Michael Jackson, Madonna, anybody else had ever done. For that year, man, it was like, I mean, from Time Magazine to CNN to you name it. Um, it was the Purple Rain year, and
It's
and
special.
and to be part of it and be in the center of it, like all of us were. Nobody was prepared for that. Nobody had, including Prince. None of us had ever experienced anything like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
it's interesting you said that. I was having a conversation with Bob Cavallo actually when we were filming Under the Cherry Moon, and he said exactly those words. He said, the kid was not ready for this, just as big as he had gotten at the time. He definitely adapted to it, no problem. But it was a shock for me. Definitely, that was my introduction into the industry. So like Huck had said earlier, it's like, oh, this is how it is. So we probably we probably didn't have the same level. I know I didn't the same level of appreciation. This was just how it was, and so that's kind of the world we always knew.
Jerome, who was your red? Now I know that Apollonia's red carpet date was Pee Wee Herman. I remember that. That was actually set up by Prince for whatever reason. Prince liked the show, and for whatever reason, he paired those two together. Who was your red carpet date, Jerome? I was trying to remember who you walked on with.
Jelly Bean, Paul Peterson.
Could have been prettier.
That's who I believe it was, because we all rode over in the yellow Cadillac.
Oh,
right!
I never saw that film for that.
They brought the cat. You remember, Alan? They brought the Cadillac out, and we went to the premiere, and then we jumped in it, and we went down to the neighborhood and Baldwin Hills, and went to that theater as well. And
didn't that Cadillac always break down? I swear I was driving it down Sunset, and the radiator went out or something in it.
It was always something going on. It was preparing us for not buying a raggedy car. That was it. Yeah, man, you guys are this is like the note that just came up. This is a real magnificent panel. This is how this type of information, this type of involvement, this banter back and forth, and this is how it's supposed to be.
Well, I'm glad you're here, man. I'm glad all of you are here. So fantastic.
Anything short of this, minus Morris and Apollonia. Come on, they're supposed to be here, right. And we're supposed to be there. Wherever they at.
That too.
Yeah. Hint.
Yeah.
I think everybody who went through this with us is here in spirit.
Yeah. Like I said, the revolution is rehearsing right now, and they all were just wish they could have done this. I mean, again, this goes back to the thing we said earlier. This is the family scenario. This is not just and we just had short of no food, which I'm starving right now. This is our picnic. This is the family picnic.
Yeah, it's funny, when we get together, when I see any of you or people that have been there, there's always this unspoken thing. Where you're talking about something, you're talking about a memory, and there's gaps that I think that when you're talking to someone that wasn't there, you have to fill in. But for us, we just get it. We just, you don't have to say this because it was this way or that way, and that's what makes it more comfortable, and you're able to recall those memories and kind of walk through that truth.
Yeah, because we shared it. It's hard, every once in a while, you talk to somebody who knows you were part of this stuff and probes you with questions and stuff. And I hate those conversations because you can't, first of all, it sounds like you're boasting, like you're all that because you had these crazy experiences.
Right.
And secondly, it's like people who weren't around this kind of thing, particularly people who weren't in the industry, they can't really understand the nuances of this shit, because all they know is what they see in the magazines and see on television, and it's sex, drugs, and rock and roll and shiny lights, and but we know what you go through to get to that point. And the other thing is, with the exception of Damon and Jerome, we're not performers. We don't do this shit. We support it. And it's like, somebody starts talking to me and it's like makes a big deal out of this shit. Like, oh my God, you did that. And I'm like, dude, I ain't saying a note. I didn't write a note.
Right.
I was in the film, and it's the most forgettable part. Okay, I did not get a nomination for an Academy Award, so it's and I'm not trying to be overly humble because I'm good at what I did, and I'm proud of what I did, but it's like you just can't have these conversations with people that weren't there.
I mean, somebody said something to me because to your point, Alan, it's like did he get an award or nothing like that? I know, and I got was all of y'all. That's what I got out of the movie. It's literally, it's like, yeah. This was to me was what it is. I mean, any one of you, I can call.
Yeah.
It's without saying, hey, it's like that to me is the real hard stuff. Is that any one of that's you don't get that normally in this life, especially not in the entertainment business.
And like Alan said, I'm collecting the nuances from this conversation now. That shit is good to me.
Yeah.
Humble pie is good.
Listen, with all due respect to Christopher and Jeff, who show I adore and have total respect for, and have enjoyed visiting with you guys before.
Thank you.
Quite honestly, I've kind of stopped doing Prince podcasts and interviews that and it gets to the point where it's just you're telling the same stories over and over, and just enough already. I'm not Prince, and he's not here, so let's
But Alan, like you said,
I'm doing this because you guys are here.
Yeah, that's why I'm here.
Quite honestly, when Chris told me he was going to be here, I'm like, I'm down. I haven't seen Jerome in an eternity, probably since that Sheila E. family jam at the Forum. I think it was the last time I saw Jerome.
Wow, yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago.
Chris and Jeff, and I just want to say this, all of us always talk about, we should get together because we lost a lot of dear friends over the years. And you guys have given us the opportunity to do this. And like Gilbert and Alan and Craig and Damon and Jerome said, it's like every time I see these guys, there's like a really special place in my heart. I mean, I get a big smile on my face. I get joy. I can look at each of these gentlemen on this screen and think about a conversation that I've had with them that's really impacted me. And I think about it this day. But I just want to thank you guys for giving me an opportunity to be together with my brothers. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I wanted to make sure that we had a show that we were able to get together that really kind of celebrates the people that were really behind the scenes. I mean, again, I wanted to make sure that we honor the people who really kind of kept those gears moving. I mean, it's just not, just to your point, Al, we don't want to tell the same stories over and over again. And just to have an opportunity, especially fantastic like this, that you guys are all able to have some availability all at the same time and to be in the room at the same time. I mean, that's a feat in itself. And I'm just, thank you guys so much for freeing up your schedule.
A lot of the things that Alan and Craig shared with us, this shit's new to me.
Yeah.
For me,
Speaking of stories, man,
it's information. And like I said, why don't you have these things when you're trying to put something together like this?
Well, Chris and I have talked about it in the past, and the bottom line is a film is only as good as the people in it and who've created it. That's the bottom line. And then in a sit down like this, it's not about Q&As and answering questions. Where I'm watching you guys light up, you're reliving these moments, and I think that's what makes the difference with this kind of show and this kind of format. You guys get to relive it, hear it again, and everyone reacts, and we're reliving it with you. So we really appreciate the openness that you guys bring too.
It's an opportunity because and maybe because most of us, Jerome, of course, is not here, but the rest of us still live in Minneapolis. And we always say, hey, we're going to get together, we're going to do this, do that. And I know I've said that with everyone on this panel. And you take for granted because you're like, well, we're all in town, so it doesn't have to be this week. It can be next week. It could be, and equally important, everybody's busy. Everybody's got their own lives. Back then, a lot of you were single. And as you grow older and your kids grow and you have lives, you're busy. I mean, people ask me like, you're so-called retired from the road, but I feel like I'm always busy. Ask me what I'm busy doing. I don't have a clue, but every day I'm tired and it's like, damn, I was busy all day. So it's like this opportunity to get together and hang and kick it on this stuff. I mean,
this is unique.
You don't want to do this every day. It would get old. because we all have lives.
Yeah, and I don't think our personalities would allow us to, and and that's one of the dynamics when you look at a lot of the personalities and people that went through Paisley over the years. I mean, as I said, Prince knew and he could tap into talent, he could see it, but because it was that, many of us would go on and do other things. It wasn't just that Prince time wasn't the end all and be all to our entire lives. And we would just go on to do other things. We were compelled. We had to. It's just was part of who we were as people.
And these stories can't come from nowhere else out of Prince's employment that he's given.
Yeah.
These stories can't come from nowhere else. They come from these folks right here.
Yeah, I remember us not getting a chance to go to the premiere because they called us. They had us out there. We were actually out there to do the after party. We were lip syncing a song called "Erotic City," but we didn't get a chance to go to the movie. But when we showed up for the after party, we just noticed, we were outside. When we pulled up, Little Richard was across the street with a picket sign saying that he stole my stuff. He stole my stuff. Dude, and we were looking like, is that Little Richard over there?
Right.
What's going on, man? And it was crazy. It was like, what is up with this guy, dude? But it was funny.
Wasn't Little Richard at the premiere and he had a Bible printed up with Prince's name on it and gave it to him on the red carpet?
But he was outside with a picket sign across the street talking about he stole his stuff.
And it's still sitting it's somewhere under one of those benches in the Chinese Man Theater.
Yeah.
Oh man, that dude was amazing.
In fact, he did come into the after show and the after party, and to this day, if you ask Gwen what was her highlight of that night, it was talking to Little Richard and having him read her Bible scriptures in the club at the after party. I mean, Prince and Sheila are playing on stage, and it's just Eddie Murphy's over here, and Gwen's in a corner with Little Richard doing impromptu Bible studies just because it's Little Richard. She's like totally tripping. It's like I'm sitting with Little Richard. So yeah, it was fantasy land for all of us one way or another.
How many times were we up in Carlos and Charlie's in the VIP section?
Oh my goodness, bro.
And nobody could come in. Eddie Murphy couldn't come in. Kareem couldn't come in. Eric Dickerson couldn't come in. We was up in that mug just stretched out.
So Jerome, what was that club? There was another club we used to go to in the Beverly Center, and I can't remember.
That was Tramp.
Tramp. Okay.
Tramp.
That was Tramp. That was the underground club. Yeah.
I remember hearing a story that Prince was bragging about how much money he was carrying in the club one time, and he was sitting in one of these VIP areas. I want to say it was Carlos and Charlie's, and Eddie Murphy came in, and Prince was holding this wad of money, and Eddie Murphy snatched the money out of his hand and just walked out, and Prince didn't know what to do. He was just like, Eddie Murphy just stole my money.
Yeah, I remember that story. Wally had told that story. And that was at Trance.
But you gotta remember. You gotta remember. If Eddie did that, he was Eddie Murphy.
And Gilbert, you didn't get Prince's money back?
Wally told that story. I don't know where I was that happened, but it would make sense that it was at Trance because it was a private club. Eddie had his membership, we had our membership, and Eddie, they would be there. I didn't remember that happening, but crazy stuff happened, so it's like you gotta believe it.
And then there's no cause for it to be an uproar or a confrontation or anything. Prince would just attend to it the next time you see him.
Right.
You know, you owe me interest on that money.
Yeah, right.
Calvin to a basketball game.
Well, actually, then Prince probably got
words
that
of
was probably
Fred
part of the
Mulch.
basketball game later on that we played.
Yeah.
When we played him at basketball, that was the revenge part. Get his
Right.
name.
For
Yeah,
those who don't remember,
exactly.
Gilbert was one of those people that was on that basketball team in that famous Charlie Murphy
he
story. A lot of people
Yes,
don't
he
know
was.
So Gilbert, did you have a blouse
That
on?
angle.
No, I didn't do blouse, man. But I honestly I do not remember us. I don't think we did change clothes when we got to the house. We just played.
Right. That's what he said.
Yeah, I got thumped.
You played in your shoes too. You didn't change
That's what I'm
tennis
saying.
shoes.
Just playing my shoes. Yeah.
We didn't need to change shoes, did we, Damon? Damon, you remember them games, don't you now?
Look here, don't even get started talking about it, Hucky, because you always think y'all won all the time.
Man,
Y'all lost.
you know, I was talking to Tony. I had brought something up about basketball. Tony actually had the nerve to say, "You guys never beat us."
Yeah,
And
Gilbert,
I'm
I
like,
know.
Well, okay, so y'all now y'all doubting it now. Y'all trying to doubt. I'm the only
I
one that
can't-
played y'all. I
honestly-
know y'all didn't win.
I can't remember you guys ever winning.
I can't remember y'all winning.
So Jeff and Chris,
well,
just to kind of get you
Damon-
guys up to speed, it was Gilbert, Dwayne, and myself against Damon, Tony, and Kurt. And we used to whoop them all the time. It got so bad that Prince said, "You got to stop playing these guys."
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
first of all, y'all want to get it straight. Let's not keep trying to play this because y'all got me on here by myself, and I can't
No,
call
I'm
none
serious.
of you
You know,
brothers.
I'm gonna,
But look,
so I'm gonna tell you. So this is exclusive here. So before we would play them, Prince would let us know how many to let them score. Like, just to kind of build their confidence and whatnot. Let them score 6 this time. So we had to let them score 6, and then we go ahead and win. Things like that. Sometimes if he was feeling really good, he goes, we go to 15, let them get to 13, so they really think they won.
wow,
It never happened.
wow. That's all I'm gonna say is wow. That's all I know. I know some people got burnt when I was playing, so I don't care what it said. I think it was because we had Kirk. Kirk was kind of like really didn't want to play close to Prince like that, and do that stuff. But hey, I was blocking his shot. I'm not playing.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna give you. We let you score from time to time.
Now you didn't let me do anything.
Well, I can vouch for Damon. I don't know nothing about Kurt and Tony. I didn't think they could win.
But the thing is, for real now, Damon was really good. Damon was a really good basketball player, but so was Dwayne too.
Yeah, Dwayne can play, and that was my competition.
In high school too.
In high school too.
He went to North.
No, he did not. He was
Oh my God.
I was trying to slip that in there.
I know you was.
All right. So if anybody in the audience has some questions, I think Anna Isabel has been posting this question a couple of times. I guess she thinks we're missing it, but I'm going to go ahead and post it. I was trying to keep it Purple Rain, but it's okay. Jerome, what did Prince say when he saw you dancing on stage with Janet Jackson at the 1987 Grammy Awards? Your performance on that show was amazing. I guess you wondered if he ever said anything negative or had a problem or.
Jerome, you can't play both sides of the fence. You're fired. There you go.
Is that really what he said?
Gilbert?
That sounds about right.
I'm just saying he wasn't happy about it.
He wasn't.
But again, and I'm not pandering. It was because it was Jerome, and the role that he played at Paisley and everything that we were doing was just at that level that Prince was not going to share that talent with someone else. That's really what it was about. I mean, Jerome was his co-star in Under the Cherry Moon. That's kind of how he perceived it.
He made a choice.
When you do the 40th Cherry Moon reunion, we could talk about all those stories.
Go into that.
Yeah, that would be a show, right, Ro?
That would be a great show.
That would be a great show.
They're going to be a pinball machine around.
You know what, Alan? In my other room, guess what I have in my other room? 8-ball deluxe machine. I've been practicing for the last 35 years to get my money back. So because he's here and because I have all these witnesses, I'm just gonna skip just a little bit forward on the Cherry Moon. I'll make it quick. there was a pinball machine in the commissary. Alan comes walking in. He goes, "Oh, there's a pinball. You want to play?" And I'm like, "Sure." And he's like, and we're in France, and at the time they didn't have the euro, they used francs. And I'm like, he's like, "You want to bet?" I'm like, "Sure, okay." And so we started betting 500 francs a game, which was what, about $80 a game or something like that.
I remember that.
So I mean, Alan was taking my money, like he was emptying my pockets every time he walked in, right? So later on during the filming, Eric, his brother, comes out to the set because we're filming the videos and stuff. Eric walks in and says, "Oh, 8-ball deluxe machine." Alan and I used to play this all the time in New York.
Y'all see what his name says? The replay.
What? And it's like, "Oh, Alan would kill this game."
All sharked.
Yeah, so I definitely got taken by Alan and Impulse. I've been
That's our
practicing for
Alan.
the last 35 years.
That's
now.
our Alan.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
We used to wake up to Alan.
Little sport,
Yeah.
Just a little sport.
There
You were
go.
wise.
It helped you pass the time.
No, I was just good at that pinball game. Didn't have shit to do with being wise. Being lucky.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, he's the shark.
Because then we play backgammon or we play cards, and he'd win it all back. Gilbert's a shark. Don't play cards with Gilbert.
No, I can play
Gilbert
cards.
was a card shark. That's for sure.
I can play cards.
Huh?
Look, don't shoot no dice with him either, because he's gonna pull out all the big wads on you. You're playing dice, shoot for a little bit. He want to bring out 100. Y'all shooting 100?
Well,
making your kind of money?
We're going too far. Gee, we're putting our business in the street. Let's be Purple Rain.
There you go. Let's go back. Let's go back to
up to
Purple
the
Rain.
top.
That's why I said if you contact us for the 40th anniversary of Undertary, but that's what you really
Right.
Jerome and Alan and Craig, do you guys remember the per diem game?
The what game?
The per diem game.
Oh,
the penalties.
No, the per diem game is like you walk up to a person who had per diem and then you count it off, and then Prince started wanting to play with us because we got like $350 a week, and we would save all our little per diem. And Prince went to Don Pete because he didn't get per diem. He said, "Well, can I get per diem too?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Yeah, I guess." And Gilbert, I don't know if it was you or me, but and how the game went is that you would challenge somebody, and then the winner would take that individual's money. So you would go ahead and you start laying out money until you didn't have any more. So we would save our little per diem. And so we played. Gilbert, it might have been me. I played with Prince one day, and that was dumb. That was a really dumb move. And so I put out like $1,000. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to take some money. This dude, man, rolled out like $2,500 on me.
because he was getting $200 a day.
Yeah.
I think God said, "Well, how much money do you want?" He's like, "I don't know. Just give me some money."
Yeah.
That's
Prince-
like
Prince needs per
Prince-
diem.
This conversation makes people watching this think that we were like making huge money and like we were getting rich. And I mean, we were reasonably well paid as the music industry goes.
True.
But none of us were getting fat, but you get in that environment and it's just like play money. You don't even until the tour's over. It's like, where my money go?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, buying things it became entertainment. I mean, again, because this is before TV, before telephones. I mean, smartphones. It was like, okay, it's 3:00 in the morning. You've just been on there. What are we going to do now? Okay, or if you're lucky, you get to a city you don't know. But let's buy some shit.
I remember when we got to Texas, all you guys went out and bought cowboy boots.
Yeah, I got cowboy boots.
Or in the time, we saved our money and waited till we got to the venue to eat the food at the meal table.
Oh yeah.
That's what we did too. Started getting smart, saving that monies.
You get home, have about a few grand. I ain't gonna say a few grand, You be like, I'm good. I'm gonna go buy me a little raggedy car
or some cowboy boots.
Right.
Cowboy boots.
I've heard practices as sound checks where Prince is ragging on people during the sound check and somebody got a new car. Somebody got a new car. I can hear him saying it over and over. What was your first major purchase? Not major purchase, but like a splurge purchase.
Who, me?
Craig.
Oh, me. Oh, wow. I I had a child, so it's like I had 2 kids, so feeding them was
semester then.
Yeah, Asa was born. Asa was born in April, and Purple Rain's the movie started in October. I think the thing that I got most was the cowboy boots were 2. I got 2 pairs of cowboy boots because I couldn't get one because I couldn't make a decision and I could afford to. That was probably the most expensive thing that I bought.
They were alligator skin too, if I remember.
Yeah, exactly. There were the things that on the road that I got, but because I didn't, and this is again coming from this world, a per diem world, a music world, because the entertainment business, film works the same way. You learn not to. So I had I used to have a bank account that I sent money to, so that I got it out of my hand because I knew that this alienation and environment causes you to want to spend money. That you wouldn't have, and I don't really drink, so it wasn't about that. So I would send the money away. So at the Purple Rain tour, I ended up buying. I bought the car, bought Don a car, and then when we separated, I bought another car. So I had this chunk of money that was in the bank before I went totally broke. So then, I was looking for the next job. But that was what it was. But for me, it was the one thing that I always remember about the money thing was Prince sort of make people pay for their mistakes. And I always remember he'd say, okay, dock them. Okay. It's like, oh, okay. And so you always felt like the henchman, it's like, we got to take some money from you now because you missed the note or whatever. That's the part I always had a hard time with because to Alan's point, none of us were wealthy. We were doing good, but it's like, people make mistakes, people screw up, but that was always.
But too, Craig, I think we were in different places because me and Gilbert, we were 21, we were single,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
This is like new money. I'm like, what am I going to do with this?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, this was paying me more than the summer job I had planned on.
There you go.
I was looking at Snyder's drugstore, and then Huck gives me a call, and the next thing I know, I'm on a jet.
Greg, do you remember? There's 2 things I think of in Ribnick Furs.
Yes.
Fur company.
Yeah.
Store. Just recently went out of business, but it's been there for forever. And during the shooting of the movie, as we approached the holidays, I don't know, somebody in the crew discovered Ribnick Furs, and the word got around. And every time I started shopping for a fur coat for Gwen for Christmas, and it's like, we're buying mink coats, coats. It's insane. But you go down to Ribnick Furs to look at the stuff and price it out, and you'd see half the crew. I think they must have sold fur coats to like 20 people.
Yeah, everybody. Yeah, exactly. They did.
Mark I was going to say, Mark got a coat from there.
I know. Mark got that big coat.
Yes.
I had 2.
Yeah,
I had 2.
And the other time was when the Purple Rain tour played L.A. And we hit the ground.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
And normally you got local. You got vans or buses that take everybody from the hotel to the gig.
Yeah.
And if you want to go separate, sometimes I take a taxi, go early or go late or something. But nobody. If you're in Louisville, Kentucky, you don't think about renting a car to drive. But we were going to be in LA for like almost 2 weeks with all these shows at the Forum and some off days to play and all these clubs the guy's been talking about. So everybody wanted to rent a car.
Right.
And I think it was you, Craig, but
Yeah,
somebody came up with this rent-a-car dealer.
I did because I knew
dealt
somebody.
with luxury cars.
Yep.
It was Ty Knutson.
Kai Knutson, yep. Yeah,
Ty
he was, from,
Knutson.
he was from Minnesota, and that's how I knew him, was from here. And and he was everybody. Yep. Yeah.
He gave us rates.
Mm-hmm.
And Chris, Jeff, the parade of luxury cars going from the hotel to the Forum every night. I mean, we're talking Corvettes, we're talking Rolls, we're talking Beamers, we're talking
Ferraris.
Wow.
And these were the days before everybody had Beamers at Mercedes.
Yes.
It was still like, oh shit, there's a Beamer. You know, it was like, I mean, everybody had a car, and it made the newspaper. There was a story in the LA Times about the fact that the Purple Rain tour had hit town, and it talked about what was on the rider for Prince's dressing room. And it said, oh, by the way, such and such car company has leased 30 luxury cars to the members of the tour.
Right.
There was nowhere, you know, these venues have private parking for the artists and so on. So there was nowhere to park. We took up all the spaces.
Right, exactly.
Insane.
It was
And
crazy.
now my brother's texting me about that. He's reminding me when we were all at the Bellage and we're all driving around in this car.
Right, exactly.
Crazy.
Exactly. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Time to go to sound check. Those car jockeys in front of that hotel were going crazy. The parade of cars was just, man.
I remember pulling out from the Bellage down on the Little Santa Monica and getting pulled by the police.
Oh, you had the Rolls Royce, didn't you? You had the, I remember that.
I think most of us got pulled over at some point that week.
But Craig,
Mark did
every
night.
for that. Because Craig, you told me what to do. You said you are going to get pulled over in Beverly Hills, driving around these cars.
Right.
And sure enough, I got pulled over, and if it wasn't for you, Craig, I probably wouldn't be around.
Right. Yeah.
Because before they even got up to the window, I had my hands on the wheel. I said, "What should I do?" And Craig's like, "Don't move, don't do anything until I give you instructions."
Right. Exactly. You're in a car you can't afford.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
And this was well before Rodney King. So thank you, Craig.
You got it. Yeah, it was funny. Ty was really great, and he was from here. I knew him from here. He had been just really into mechanics, and he went to LA and did the cars for Miami Vice. That's how he got started.
Oh wow!
Yeah. Because they couldn't afford the car, the Ferrari that they had in the show. They couldn't afford, or the Maserati they had in the show. They couldn't afford that. So what he did was he got a Corvette and got a Maserati body and put it on there. And then from there on, he was like the king of cars for Hollywood and stuff like that. So he was all this, and his partner's name legally was called Ed Superfine.
Oh, wow.
Not McLovin.
No, Ed Superfine. So when because he was friends, he could give us a rate because, obviously we were not going to be there forever, but it helped him. I mean, they ended up, from us, what happened was they got so much publicity from us, they ended up getting the Bhagwan's cars, all his 100 Mercedes to sell.
Yep.
Wow.
America gave them the cars and said, sell these cars. And so after they did that, they didn't have to work anymore. So,
True Purple Rain stories. There you guys go.
There you go. I got a question. What do you guys feel about this Purple Rain house Airbnb deal that's now going around? Anybody got any commentary on any thoughts on that?
I talked to them about it. The good thing, this is the good part of it, is that they, in order to do this, they had to pay the Revolution, because the music they're playing came out of the movie, so they have to pay them.
Good.
Yeah, so that's the only good part about it, So, the Airbnb people have to pay. So, they've got a couple houses of different situations that they are trying to do this because they're trying to get these sort of exotic kind of stays and stuff like that. So
that's a smart one.
Yeah.
But there were supposed to be unreleased tracks. So are these unreleased tracks from that era? Or
they're in the band. I mean, the Revolution was at the time the band.
Right. Yeah, understood. But I mean, so are these songs that like specifically "Let's Go Crazy" or is it
I
really
don't know.
these tracks like they've advertised?
I don't know. It's stuff that they did as a revolution. I'm not stayed at one, so I don't know that. But I've seen the interior of it that they redid it, and it's a Prince house, and you know,
Hucky's Purple Rain. So, oh my gosh, I don't even know where to even start with. Thanking you guys so much for coming out.
Yeah.
This has been absolutely fantastic. We dropped Damon. Nope, he's come back. He dropped off. Now he came back.
There you go.
Damon doesn't want anyone to know he's staying at the Purple Rain's house. Remember, he said he was a witness.
Hey, witness protection. Come on, man.
Right,
come on, man.
Protection, so.
Oh my god. But I cannot thank you guys enough for taking time out of your schedule to come on here. Jerome, thank you so much for hanging out. I know you had some other scheduling commitments and stuff, but
you see me talking off and on to my boss,
waving people away.
And she came in and see me laughing, so she said, "Okay, yeah, I got a female boss."
Hey,
we all do.
We all got one of those.
And you know, Chris, when Gilbert approached me a couple of days ago, he called me, and I picked the phone up when Gilbert calls, and he asked me would I be interested in it. I asked him who was involved. He mentioned these guys' names: Alan, Craig, Damon. And I was like, absolutely.
Yeah, it's the same thing for me. It really was. Gilbert got it's okay.
And,
I mean, that's not even thought.
And it's more than I thought it would be even. So, I appreciate it, Gilbert. Thanks, Alan.
No,
thank you, Craig.
Yeah, been good for everybody.
Hucky.
Yeah.
And I love y'all. I love y'all very, 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 very much.
Well, I would love to get all of you guys on the show again. I mean, obviously for the 40th anniversary, we're going to the Sherry Moon.
Right.
AKA The Adventures of Morris and Jerome. Wasn't that what that movie was supposed to be? What the movie was supposed to be?
I was supposed to die, right, Gilbert?
Yeah.
Wait, okay. We're talking about Purple Rain.
That movie, that's next year.
Next year.
I was just
teasing that movie.
Chris, we're going to give you a teaser to say for that one why Gilbert and myself didn't get to be the dancers in the band.
There you go. They were too good.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Hucky had them buffs going on right here.
Hucky had no rhythm and still has no rhythm.
And I have less rhythm than Hucky had. How's that?
Oh my god.
And I'm fooling you guys.
Oh my gosh.
I'm teasing. Guitar with no jizz.
I promised somebody I would ask Hucky this question, and I haven't got to it yet. I'm sorry. This is one question here. Hucky, and I think you're going to know who this is coming from. What is your top 2 favorite bourbons?
Okay, Kurt.
It was
1792 12-year, and we're going to go with a Russell Reserve 13.
Well, Christopher Columbus serving you that shit, huh?
No, so this goes back to that money thing. See, Hucky saved his per diem, and now he's become a connoisseur of bourbon.
Wow,
It's the whole thing.
Yeah, well, I guess I need to get in touch with Hucky on what the bourbon is.
Oh yeah,
we all do.
Damon.
We all do.
Hey, he's the man now.
Yeah.
And Craig, I have to get you back on the show at some point because I had so many questions that I wanted to ask you about Joni Mitchell's Refuge of the Roads.
Okay, yeah. No, definitely. We can definitely talk about that. That was personally a really important thing for me in my life as an artist. So.
And managing Maserati and all the fun and adventure that's got to come with that.
Well, I don't know if it was fun, but there was definitely an adventure.
Right, exactly.
It was definitely an adventure. Like, I mean, it was a long time. So I got to split here, guys. But I want to say to everybody, JB is not doing well. He had another stroke. So for those who put him in your prayers, it's it is what it is right now. So again,
who's that?
James Bryant.
JB.
Yeah. He just had another stroke day before yesterday. So pray for him. Okay.
And I had him on the phone too.
Yeah.
On behalf of all the Purple family here and everybody in the chat room, everybody that's watching the show, I want to thank each and every one of you for your involvement in one of the greatest movies of all time. And even if you didn't know it at the time, it was absolutely positively has had a major impact between the soundtrack and the movie that literally changed our lives. And I can't thank all of you for so much for again taking time out of your schedule to come on the show. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Give a big round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alan.
This is Jeff Page. Good night. See you soon.